the Know Your Gear podcast. The Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast, episode 439. Hope you guys had a fantastic week. It's ready for some fun, maybe fun gear talk. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how lucky you guys get. Anyways, a couple things. If you're watching us live, there's no commercials. We don't play the commercials during the live. And also, if you watch it on Patreon or if you listen stream it, there's no commercials. So there you go. I hope that helps for that. And as always, I want to thank the moderators for taking care of you guys. And they are easy to find. They have blue names with blue wrenches. And then I want to thank the patrons and the channel members for 439 episodes of ad-free reads, man. That's it. All you got to hear is this little blurb at the beginning just to say thank you to everybody, but no 10-minute reads throughout the thing for companies. So thank them for that. So, all right. What are we doing? Let's get into stuff. We got a lot of stuff. I got some super chats we got from last week. We will take care of those as well. So let me start with some of those. Are you still using the Peavey amp to showcase cheaper guitars? I mean, I would say I am, except for the fact I haven't done it. I haven't done it in a while. And I'll get to that. Hold on. Let's read the second half. Any intent to change that in the future would be nice to see something you can buy easily. So what happened, I'll just tell you guys up front and always what happens. So I bought that Peavey amp, which I still have. If you guys watch, it's been in a bunch of videos to be to use an amp whenever I'm using a guitar. I don't really have an exact dollar amount, but let's say a guitar that's $500 and less. I try to keep it in an amp that would be something you either heard or have reference of. It's hard to put a $300 guitar through a $3,000 amp and then go, hey, how did it sound to you? And I have no idea what that amp sounds like. And a lot of people think it's about making the guitar sound better or worse. Like, hey, you're just trying, that I can't tell how good that guitar is because you're running through a nice amp. I mean, I think anything can sound horrible and anything can sound good, regardless of the price. Quick shout out to Michael Neilson's channel today. He did a cool video basically showing you how let's just say how a $30 pedal can sound like a $300 pedal. Let's call it that. So I'll put a link to that. So check out his channel for that video. But my point is, it's really about reference. It's like when I say, oh, this neck feels like a Fender Mexican Standard neck. A lot of people have put their hands on that neck, so you're like, you have a reference of it. You're like, oh, I know how about that is. I've either owned one or I've felt one or a friend had one or there wasn't a store. So anyways, I thought, let's do that. But what happened was a Guitar Center reached out to me and asked me if I would do a review of the Katana Gen 3 amp. And I said, no. No, I won't do that. I've done Katana reviews in the past. I'm not going to really do a review of that. There's not really a video to see that I think would be interesting. It's not something I would want to make, and I don't think anybody's asking for it. So, and I've told you guys this 1,000 times. There's only 3 reasons to make a video. I want to do it, you want to watch it, or somebody wants to pay for it. Now, in this case, Guitar Center wanted to pay for it. However, I also have to weigh those 3 options together. How much I really do or don't want to do it, how much you really don't want to see it or do want to see it. In this case, I felt like, yeah, Guitar Center wanted to sponsor a video, but you really didn't probably want to watch it. So what I did was I said, well, I have an idea. And then here's the idea. I said, why don't you send me one? And they had an exclusive one in blue, which I thought was cool. I said, send me one and I'll use it because everybody has one or has heard one, and that would be a good reference. So that kind of replaced the Peavey. I still have the Peavey. It's the Backstage. Somebody asked what it is. It's the Backstage amp. It's an old one from the 80s. You can't, and that's the other problem too. You can't even find them, and when you do, they're all over the place. And then unfortunately, nothing like a Josh Scott video. But I noticed that even though I picked up mine for like $100 in mint condition, all of a sudden people were getting $150, $200 for them. And I was like, okay, that's probably because some people are buying them because they're reminded about the nostalgia or they like the video. So to answer your question, I plan to use the Peavey again when it makes sense, but that's why the Boss Katana's in the videos more. And that's just because it makes sense. So it's a good amp. If you guys saw this week, we did a video on the new Blackstar Stage what do I call it? Stage 3? What am I calling it that? The Blackstar IDX 50. I don't know what I was saying. Little Peavey Blackstar crossover. So I did a video on the new Blackstar ID 50X, and it was a really fun video because I did it on Veterans Day, and then I edited it. I was editing it, and then I gave it to my patrons as I do the day before. Say, hey, you want to check this out? And a bunch of patrons like, hey, did you see Anderton's say that it was horrible? And I was like, oh, it's horrible? So at 2:40 in the morning, I watched the Andertons video, and I was like, oh, okay. And I thought, well, fine. I have my own opinions, and they still stay in the video, so I didn't change anything in the video. I just thought, well, maybe I'll add the Anderton's fix. So I added that. And that segues us to Yardbird 68. By the way, Yardbird 68, funny story. Every time I saw your name, I thought, oh, he's a fan of birds. I don't know why. I just like, oh, Bird 68. Then all of a sudden it hit me like, Yardbirds, like the band. He's probably a Yardbird fan. So now I'm like, okay, yeah, because there's no bird called a Yardbird, is there? But I was like, but I don't know why. I just thought bird watcher. I thought you were a bird watcher and like guitar. I fantasize sometimes about your guys' names, how you come up with them, why that happened, right? Why does, whatever crazy name you guys come up with. And so when I saw Yardbird 68, I was like, oh, he's into birds. Now I'm like, no, he's into the Yardbirds. Okay, so anyways, he says, hey, concerning the Blackstar amp, he's talking about the video I did, which all ties us in. If you download the new software, which is what I did in the video, if you didn't watch, I did my whole video the way it was, and then I added a part at the end where I did the Blackstar new firmware that they made for Andertons. If you guys don't know all this stuff, I'll put a link to that video down below. Anyways, he says, what does he say? He says, after you download the new software, is it possible to go back to the original? I would imagine there is. However, I know for a fact that there is, because I would imagine that you could just restore the amp back to factory settings, which is what I would probably do if I didn't like it, is just go back to factory settings. So, and that's pretty simple. In the old days, you just look it up in the manual. Nowadays, you just go Google search it or chat it or whatever and go, hey, how do I reset my Blackstar IDX 50? And then you just follow the steps, reset to factory, and you would be in the old version. And so if you want to watch that video, you guys will see whether or not I like the Andertons version or not. Cliffhangers, right? So try to suck you in to watch that video. get those clicks so I can get those pennies, man. Got to get those pennies. But pretty cool. So why I'm all bringing this all up together is because there's a two-parter to this. I'm going to continue to use the Boss Gen 3 Katana because it's just a familiar amp to everybody, and it seems like everybody's really happy when I do that, when I use something that people can reference or understand. And so I'll continue to do that. But also, at some point, I don't know if I'll be able to I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'll be able to kind of like say I can keep both amps. In other words, I don't know why I would want two of those amps. So I'm really curious to see which one I keep, and I'll let you guys know. So that's why I'll keep you guys apprised of which one it is. But Yardbird has a second part of the question. He says, hey, since you said the speakers are the weak point, and I think that in both amps, by the way. So definitely the Blackstar, but also the Katana. I can tell you absolutely a speaker upgrade to the Katana makes a world of difference, but I would imagine even more so with the Blackstar because the Blackstar is more voiced for amp sounds and it's not worried so much about as a playback monitor like the Katana is or an acoustic amp. So keep in mind, Boss had to design a speaker or use a speaker that sounded good for amp sounds, but also for an acoustic sound. And also when you hook it up Bluetooth, or if you play your background music, they need it to all sound good like that. You can imagine guitar speakers themselves sound horrible for playback on music, much less if the music has a bass guitar and drums in it. And of course, on top of that, acoustic. So the Katana speaker, I'm sure, is a compromise of how you get all that way, where I don't think Blackstar went on the cheap and just picked a cheap speaker that whatever the speaker sounded the best out of the cheap speakers. I could be totally wrong. I really hate to kind of, broad stroke somebody like that. But I mean, it's, I've been around for a long time and this is a real, hitting a price point is very important. They got to stick to 369. They're doing all this stuff in the amp. And in my mind, I just imagine them, with a, 3 or 4 speakers going, okay, which one sounds the best and which one sounds the worst and which one's the cheapest. And they go, okay, this one sounded the best, but But this one was the cheapest. Okay, well, this one sounded not as bad as the worst, and it was still pretty cheap. And then they're just trying to find that sweet spot. So your question is, to your point was, since you said the speaker is the weak point on the amp, how about doing a deep dive where you install different speakers, such as Celestion and Greenbacks? I wouldn't do that. I can just tell you exactly what I'm going to do with the Blackstar IDX 50, period, okay? Because I have them. So I have a Creamback Celestion. I also have a Creamback Neodymium Celestion. Keep in mind on solid state amps or whatever amps like that, those speakers, at least on the Blackstar, is a 4 ohm speaker. What's important to understand is that when you switch it to 8 ohm or 16 ohm, you lose volume. Okay, physical volume. To say power, I'm not an amp guy, so I'm not going to talk about what is really happening inside the amp. I don't really care. I'm just going to tell you that when you switch from 4 ohm to 8 ohm, you will have an amp that is not as loud. And I mean that when you crank it up, when it's 50 watts, it just won't be as loud. So you're losing volume. That's how, because the resistance is increased. I'm not going to put a 4 ohm speaker in it because I don't have one. So I'm going to put an 8 ohm Creamback Celestion or Creamback Neo because I have both of those that I can put in there. I have a cabinet with a redback Celestion, a greenback, and a creamback, and I, alternate that sometimes to hear, different sounds. But in those amps, I've kind of learned that the creamback is the way to go for me. If I wasn't going to use a creamback, I would use a Vintage 30. Maybe the Vintage 30 would probably sound even better because it's a little more bassy, and maybe that would help the amp because it's so bright. But basically, if I was to do it, which I will film it and show you guys the before and after, it's going to go like this. I'm going to stick a creamback in that amp. If it sounds better, I'm going to be like, hurrah, and then it's done. And then if it doesn't sound better, then I just put the original speaker out and I end the journey because that's it. So I just don't want to do a 20 speaker swap. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to me. If that's a video I thought you guys would really watch, maybe I'll consider it. So the 11 says, Phil, remember Phil's V30 days? Yeah, I still use V30s. I just don't use them as much because I like the creambacks for the amps that I'm using. But I do have V30s. So yeah, the 11's correct. I used to play mostly all V30s with just a few other speakers. Now I mostly play creambacks. But I do have different speakers in all the cabinets. So, well, not really. So this Marshall behind me is a 212 1936 vintage. So in other words, it came with vintage Celestion style speakers. It was the Marshall version. That has creambacks in it now. This Morgan amp comes with a greenback. That's what I have in that. The Friedman next to me right here has a redback Celestion in it. The Magnatone, I think, has a warehouse speaker in it. So, I mean, I have lots of different speakers and different cabs. I have a 212 cabinet with V30s. It's another Marshall cabinet with V30s that I'll use. And keep in mind, the main reason is I think the 1936 is really big and bassy and full sounding. I think it sounds almost as full as a 412 sometimes, especially in a smaller room. It just sounds huge. So the creambacks really added some highs that I thought the cabinet was missing, where my other Marshall cabinet, which is a slant 12, so it's vertical, was always very bright with no low end, and the V30s really warmed it up. So to me, it's not just one speaker fits all for me. It's like strings and pickups for me. It's like there's certain things where I like, but predominantly, yes, I like creambacks now for the most part. And that's what I go back to. Brian says, I haven't tried the redback. What's the difference? What's funny about the redback is it would never got on my radar, but I walked into a Guitar Center, which is that way you start every joke now. So I walked into a Guitar Center and I said, hey, no, I'm just kidding. So I walked into a Guitar Center and there was a Fender. I was trying guitars, of course. So I was looking at guitars and I grabbed a guitar and I was looking for an amp, and there was a Fender Reverb Deluxe, a 65 Reverb Deluxe. And I was like, oh, cool. I know this amp. Plugged in, it just sounded so good. And I was like, man, this amp sounds really good. And then I saw the FSR sticker on the hang tag. FSR stands for Fender Special Run, means that it's something different, that they did different. So I was looking at what was different about it, and I looked in the back and it had a redback Celestion. And I go, oh, I assumed that it was adding fullness and bass. But so I bought one. I bought a redback Celestion. What's nice is I have 3 identical Friedman cabinets. It's the same 112 open back cabinet. So because I have 3 identical ones, what's nice is I can put the creamback, which is what it comes stock with. Then I found out, this is what kind of made it all make sense for me, that at some point, for some reason, Friedman has switched. So if you have a twin sister Dirty Shirley, if you have the matching cabinet, which I do, which is the silver-faced Friedman cabinet, it used to come with a cream back. Now it comes with a red back. By the way, the Friedman Dirty Shirley combo comes now with a red back Celestion. I didn't know that either. I found out when I put in Redback Celestion in Sweetwater and those cabinets came up. And I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll buy Redback. I'll stick it in my silver-faced Friedman. And then, because I did that, I thought, well, I should get a greenback and stick a greenback in the other Friedman, and I'll have all three cabinets, and I can A, B, C them. And that's what I did, and here's what I learned. The redback is a little brighter. That's what I thought. It just sounds like the creamback, but a little brighter. Sounds really good. I would not pick it over the creamback, but I liked it. I really liked it. Do I like it with the twin sister more than the creamback? I don't know if I do or not. Again, I might, because here's the problem with it. It sounds really great, but one of the things that I like about creambacks is the same thing I like about V30s, is it's not that they sound so good. By the way, people listening later, I'm doing the air quote thing for stupid reasons. It's not that they sound so good, it's that they work so well with all the situations I put things through. You know, when you're running a cabinet, but you're going to run a Friedman amp in it, and then a Magnetone amp in it, and then an Engel amp in it, and then a 5150 amp in it, and you're switching all stuff. It's just nightmarish to try to always match cabinets to amps. I don't live in that kind of world. Where if I was really a one amp, one speaker kind of person, maybe I'd focus on that. If I was on a stage somewhere, but I'm really usually using them for utility purposes. In other words, I'm changing out things all the time. So I just learned that the creambacks and the V30s work well for me and my ears. And especially, like I said, the V30s, I know them so well, just like the creambacks now, that when I try an amp, I know what the amp's doing versus what the speaker's doing, which is helpful information to have, especially when conveying information to people in a review. Like, hey, this amp has a lot of this in it and that. And somebody will say, well, how do we know it wasn't the speaker? And I'm like, well, it is the speaker, but I'm telling you because I can discount what I know about the speaker from my what information I'm giving you guys. So, let's see. What else are we doing? Something we got to switch over. Let's go into another topic. Phil, have you reviewed a Monoprice stage right amp? I have not. Inexpensive gear like Monoprice and things like that, how that usually happens is one of two things drive those videos for me. Either a company reaches out and says, hey, we'd like you to check this out or do a video. And again, if I think I think you guys will watch that. I think you guys will like that. Let's do it. If you guys keep mentioning like this, it's the hot item, I go, well, I maybe make that video. Not so much that it gets views. I'm not after views. Views don't pay you anything. I'm after your eyeball time. How long will you stay in the video? And the more interested in the subject you will, the more interested in the subject you are, the more you will watch the video. And I like that because to me, that's a win-win. It nets me more money in ad revenue, and it nets you because you're actually interested in watching it versus you clicked into it just to find out that you didn't care and have to leave. So that's why I like that. So basically that's my way of saying I really I don't personally seek out inexpensive gear. That's one of the downfalls of having a nicer gear is that you tend to go, okay, well, I really like what I have. I'm not really looking for something better. So I kind of like rely on you guys to go, hey, have you seen this? And I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that. So I have not. The only thing I heard about Monoprice that I heard from a really good source, it's a rumor, but it's a rumor from the source. I just hear myself talk sometimes. I'm like, what the hell am I saying? What I'm saying is that Laney Amps told me they ripped them off from Laney. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a rumor that the Monoprice is a ripoff of Laney. That rumor was given to me by Laney. I just want to let you know. Why I'm laughing is because I'm like, I don't know why I'm phrasing the way I am, but it's true. So the Laney guys told me they're really pissed off. In fact, so they were so irritated with when they were talking to me about this. What they said was they pulled their production lines from China because that's what said to happen was they went and had made stuff over in China and then they got ripped off immediately. And that's where all the Monoprice stuff came out. So I have done the Laney amps and I have been told That's why I said the rumor thing. I have been told the Laney guys it's not as good, and I've been told by you guys it's just as good, or it's the same thing. I don't know. So I would imagine if you watch my Laney amp videos, you're watching the Monoprice videos. That'd be my guess. So, but I hear good things about Monoprice. Not from Laney though. That's yeah. So right. Let's see. Nikki says, "Hey, what's that great camo looking Telecaster hanging on the wall?" That is a Crook guitar, and that's in Paisley. It's a little far back from you guys, so that's why it probably doesn't look like that. So that's a Crook Tele in Paisley. If you guys don't know what Crook is the company that makes guitars, that made guitars for Brad Paisley. Funny story, right? Paisley guitars used by Brad Paisley. Forever, when you saw Brad Paisley with a Paisley Tele, it was a Crook forever until he got some deal with Fender, and then they did a Fender deal, and now he's all with Fender. I'm not really such a huge Brad Paisley fan. I really like him as a guitar player, and I like country music, but I'm not such a huge fan that I know all the details of where he is and what he's doing, like who's his sponsorships with. But I kind of got the impression he's all in with Fender now, but that's an actual Crook one, which are very, very, very nice guitars. So maybe if you guys want a deep dive of that, I'd do a deep dive of a Crook Tele. As you guys know, we have a lot of deep dives planned. We've done a bunch where we're just expanded out of this is what the hot guitar of the week is, or this is the YouTube sensation of the month, or this is what companies are sending to everybody. I just kind of get burnt out on that. So we started integrating all the other weird guitars that I've been pulling, like the Parker PM20 and the Moonstone guitar and the Sears and Roebuck guitar and stuff like that. So you're going to be seeing a lot of all kinds of stuff sprinkled in. It's just, I think it's fun. It gives you guys more reference, since we're doing the sheets on the website where you can compare and contrast. And of course, all the deep dives are formalized in a way that at least the information is somewhat standardized, so you can compare and go, hey, this is how this did. Let's look at how another one did. So, but anyway, so yeah, if you guys think a Paisley Crook Tele would do well, give this video a thumbs up. If I see a crap ton of them, I'll be like, oh, I guess that's what they want. So for those to be fully informed, I'm pretty sure, if I was going to guess, it's like $4,000 for one of these things. It's pretty nuts. I know what you're like. How do you not know what it costs? I don't know what it costs. It's not mine. It's just here. There's some guitars that are just here. So I told you guys, some guitars are sent by companies. Some guitars are mine. Some guitars are here for other reasons. This is a guitar that's here for other reasons. So we'll get to that eventually one day. Why it's here. I have play dates for my. Don't you guys love your guitar? I love my guitars like my wife loves pets, and I have play dates like my wife has. She has a cat come over and visit my cat, and the dog comes over and visits the dog. Right? I have guitars come visit my guitars, and I send my guitars to visit other people's guitars. You don't do play dates with your guitars? Stupid dad jokes are just dumb. I'm sorry. I apologize for that one. That one was too dumb. Okay. Let's see. Here's a good old classic. Somebody wants to know, why does everyone make a Strat or a Tele? Well, it's probably not for the reasons you think. The answer should be as simple as everybody makes a Strat and a Tele because Strats and Teles are the dominant force in the guitar world, and everybody wants one, so of course everybody makes one. That's actually not what I've learned in all these years, is why everyone really makes a Strat and a Tele. There's multiple reasons why everybody makes a Strat or a Telecaster style guitar, okay? And you can almost tell what the reason is by the execution of their Strat or Tele. Some people, sure, they want to get in on that Strat Tele market. Hey, everybody's buying those. Let's get one of those too, right? Makes sense, right? It's the hot thing. It's why, trends are trends. However, there's a lot of people, we'll put a category like this. There's a lot of guitar builders who believe the Strat and the Tele are not that great, or they could be improved upon. And I would use some, obviously you could say like the Silver Sky or Sir guitars or something like that, where companies are like, hey, I think I can make this better. And they tend, not all, but look at G&L. I know defunct now, but basically look at G&L. Same concept. I can do this better. And by why I say they not only think like that, but why I think they think like that is they they jump over the most important part of why you would copy a Strat and Tele. And I'll get to that last. Okay, there's a number one reason. So if I was going to give you 3 reasons why you would copy a Strat and Tele, I'm going to do them in order. So number 3 was the basic one. It's just because everybody does that and it's a market to get in. Number 2 is the one I'm talking about right now. You think you can do it better. Those always seem to be easy to spot because they design their own bridge, like G&L did, or like PRS did. They design their own headstock. Not only not keep copying the Fender headstock, but almost keep away from it entirely. But more importantly, they change attributes and they change things. Maybe they change the neck carve. Maybe they change the neck heel joint. Maybe they change the pickups entirely, out of the style of that. So basically they want to make something better. They've decided that Fender is a great company and they make great Strats and Teles, but there's a better one out there. They can do it better. They want to one-up them. That's number 2. Number 1 is the biggest reason why everybody does it. It's because the parts are the most readily available. You got to understand, when you go to as many factories as I've gone to, you're going to notice some trends in factories. And one of the biggest trends is what is missing in factories. Machine shops. There's not a lot of them in these factories. And when they are, they're not very big. They're usually outsourcing their components. And this can be think about some companies for a while, they weren't even sourcing their own pickups. I mean, of course, Fender and Gibson made their own pickups. And now PRS, of course, they make their own pickups. Well, of course, they did always, I guess. But there's a lot of companies, believe it or not, they didn't do pickups. And there's a lot of companies this day, that didn't do their own pickups. And so you got to understand, so you have to then rely on the outsource. If you're not building it yourself, you need somebody to supply this to you. Well, not only is it the easiest thing to get, Fender Strat and Strat style and Tele style parts, because they're so copied, but because they're so copied, they just become easier to get and so cheap to buy. You can buy them so cheap. And you can imagine what if you've never built a guitar before, let me just tell you some things that you really need to understand before you get to factories, employees, insurances, all that stuff. Just yourself. The thing about a guitar, and I've said this before, that you need to understand is you can build an entire guitar in your garage. What I mean that's exactly that. I mean, I guess you could put a car together in your garage too, but a guitar, you could put it together in your garage with mostly tools you could find at Ace Hardware. Okay, or Home Depot. So you take a brick of wood, you make a body. You take another plank of wood, and I don't know why I called it a brick of wood. I apologize for that. You take a piece of wood, you make a body. Take another piece of wood, you make a neck. And then you have to start worrying about things like, well, I can't make a truss rod. I can try. Some have, but it'd be a lot easier to buy one. And look how readily available they are now, and cheap. Oh, I need tuning keys. I can't make tuning keys in my garage. I can buy tuning keys. I can't make a bridge. Now you can fashion a bridge, or you can bend some metal and make a bridge. But imagine not a tremolo. A tremolo is a little bit more complicated that for the average person in their garage. So you can imagine, as any manufacturer, no matter how big or how small, just having a huge variety of parts, massively cheap, really does focus you in what you want to build, because it really does dramatically change how much it's going to cost. Okay, here's a good example. I'll pick on Music Man, since I'm staring at my screen right now and I see this Music Man Majesty behind me. This is a USA made Majesty with its own bridge. But if you get a Majesty import, it has a more traditional Fender style 2-point tremolo, because of the fact that it's more available to get that way. They might use something based on like a Wilson tremolo. So the importance of this is, the reason why there's so many Strats and Teles is because it's so easy to get Strat and Tele parts. It's just so easy. It's why Strat and Tele parts are impregnated into so many other guitars that don't necessarily need to have those parts, because they're so cheap. And you can just see it everywhere you go. And this is because as many manufacturers, including small ones, will tell you, I really do hate to tell you guys personal stories that I have not cleared with anyone, but I don't think he would mind. So Matt at Texas Toast and I had a talk. This is a couple years ago, and he said at the time, Texas Toast was using a bridge that he had designed and he was having machined. And essentially he told me that the machine shop that was making it basically didn't want to make it anymore. Not couldn't make it, just didn't want to, I guess. think that's the way I'm remembering the story correctly. I'm sure I'll correct it later if I'm incorrect on that part of the statement. The important part is what he said to me. What he said to me, I think most people, like you, without the reference of what I just gave you, would have heard this so strangely. But I remember when he told me, I was like, oh, I totally understand. He said, I wish somebody would knock off my bridge. He goes, I wish a company overseas would just make a knockoff of my bridge so I could buy my bridge cheaper. Because he knew exactly what I'm telling you, which is you can get Fender's bridge for a nickel. You can get Gibson's bridge for a dime. You can get everyone's bridge for nothing, because that's what happens when a very popular guitar becomes very copied. As it gets copied, it gets easier and easier and easier to get those components. And as it gets easier, they get cheaper. And as they get cheaper, it gets harder to justify not using them. So the reason why everybody makes a Strat and Tele is because it's freaking cheap. And not just cheap to manufacture or put together, just all the components are cheap. And that's why. So, and I hope somebody knocks off Texas Toast Bridge one day so he can get the bridge at a better price. So okay. So let's see. What else? Okay, hold on a second. Let's do this one. Okay, let's do this one. It says, hey, this is from Cat's Music Journey. It says, hey, I saw the Court video. I knew they were big factories, but the sheer size and volume of the manufacturer is insane. Thanks for sharing the insight. No question. Grab one from the chat. Cheers. Yes, it's why I was focused on that. So you guys know, when I got the, you get the scent, right? You get the smell, like the opportunity. When I first talked to the guys at Quartet Guitars a few years ago, and it was a friendly conversation via email, I was like, wow, they're being nice to me. We're being friendly. I go, well, let's go in for the ask. And I was like, I want to come to the factory. And as you guys know, I've told this story to death, but I only wanted to see it because they said they did a 1.2 million guitars. And all I could think was, I need to see that. I need to see that. I don't know why. And now I know why. It's one of the few things in my life that I've done, and I had no idea. I could not explain it to myself, my wife, my friends. I could not explain why I needed to see it, but I needed to see it. Now that I've done it, I totally know why I needed to see it, and that's my secret to keep for myself. But what I learned there was epic, but more importantly, it was... it's crazy. And I'm glad I got to share it with you. Like I said, they let me share everything except for one thing, which now ties in. I'm doing really good with the segues today. Look at this. I'm like flowing. It ties into, I grabbed it from an early riser question from Hero Glop, who said, hey, Phil, do you know if the new Asian Fender standards, which is the standards Strats, Teles, P basses, are selling? Failure or success? Well, funny enough, one of the things I was not able to show you was there was 4 buildings you didn't see at Quartet. I didn't show you the Strandberg building. That was not on Quartet or Strandberg, so you know. That was on me. I just didn't show it to you. It basically, if you saw the master building, which you did in the video, they were making some Strandbergs in that building too. You see them in the background if you're looking in that video. So same but different, because they have their own specialized employees like Pure S does and stuff. So I didn't share that with you. That was just, I could maybe one day share some footage with you. I don't know. The 3 buildings I didn't share with you guys was the Ibanez building, the Fender building, and the Squire building. Those are the 3 buildings I did not share with you guys. And so the Fender building, as you can imagine, is where they're making those Fender standards at. And they're making a lot. So is it a failure or success? Well, as of August, when they were building, which is building for fourth quarter, I'm going to say it was a somewhat of a success because they were building a lot of guitars. They make a lot of guitars. The thing that I think the way people think sometimes is not 100%. They don't see the whole picture, and maybe sometimes you want to back up and expand out. Looking at this guitar, the guitar world through my eyes, let me see show you through how my eye sees this. When you see a $600 Indonesian-made Fender Standard Stratocaster or a Tele, and the market slows down, your first thought is probably like, how did it go over? Because, it got a lot of hate. Well, first of all, you can almost guarantee that if everybody hates it on the internet, it's a huge success. Not always, but most of the time. So, I've never had a video that got 1 million views, not one, that somebody doesn't say, you've jumped the shark and this is the worst video you ever made. I don't mean like 1 in the million. That's like the comment. They're like, this is the worst video you ever made, Phil. I'm like, okay, cool. And then boom, now it's 3 million views. Okay. So I don't know what it is. So people just have a lot of people with no sense of something have an opinion about it. I guess that's all of us. But my point is, what's going to happen now is we see everybody's buying down. In other words, the market's tighter. People are not spending as much. We see that. In the guitar industry, everybody always thinks, and I've told you guys this before, everybody thinks everybody just stops buying. It's not what happens. First of all, some people aren't even affected by a recession. Recessions are strange, and I'm not even saying we're in one, I'm just talking about markets. I'm really going to talk about the last recession because that's where I pull a lot of information from because I survived that market in this industry. What people really do, they do pull their discretionary spending to a point, but they also kind of just change. Like I used to buy $3,000 guitars, but I'm not going to do that now. I'm going to buy a pedal or I'm going to buy, a $300 guitar and fix it up. I'm still going to find a way to enjoy myself. It's kind of like I'm still taking the kids to Disneyland. We're just staying at the La Quinta and not the Marriott, right? Like that's like people, for some reason, only people in comment sections across the internet have this pass-fail system attitude towards everything. Oh, guitar market's down, then nobody buys a guitar at all, and all companies go out of business. I'm like, that's not even close to how it works. Well, how it works is people pull back. That's the first thing they do, and they pull back. You go, oh, it's going to be tough. Except for companies like Fender, what they'll do is they have those price points to pull back too. So where you would have bought an $800 guitar down, you slide down to their $600 guitar. They still get the sale. Yes, it's not the same, but they still get it. So I see a lot of people saw this coming with those models when they came out in January, that they saw the market and they were like, we need this price point for the market. Look, I'm not saying, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to say this. Actually, I'm buying time while I try to figure this out. Look, obviously you saw the videos I made of the Cortec factory where SEs are at. You see what PRS is doing. You see that they're basically making guitars that can survive a softer market. They cannot sell $5,000 guitars in a soft market. Now, when I say cannot, see, this is the pass-fail. I don't mean they won't sell none. They're just going to sell a lot less, right? They're just going to sell a lot less. They're going to sell a lot less. Well, they got to sell something. So they create a new market or they expand the market that will survive or do better in this market, which is SE. Same with Fender. They're just going to expand the markets, Everyone does this in this industry. And again, I'm only talking about the music industry. I don't want to talk about other industries. I don't want to hear about what he says. Oh, this is what's happening in my industry. I'm like, great, but this is a guitar podcast. In the guitar market, if you can't sell your $300 pedal, you make a more affordable line of pedals and you push on that a little bit. Because again, you still have a buying community that loves your product and they want to buy something because this is how they reward themselves with joy to some degree. And then you need to give them something that they'll pull the trigger on. And sometimes there's two ways to do that. Lower your price, which is what a lot of people are doing right now. That will definitely get some people to buy. Create a new price point that's lower, or create a product that's more exciting that just gets them to go, I don't even care about money anymore. I'm just going to throw your wallet down, right? I call it vacation spending logic. When you're on vacation and they're like, how much is that coffee? And they go, $11. And you go, well, I'm on vacation. I deserve this $11 coffee. The rest of the year, I'm getting 7-Eleven coffee. I'm getting this $11 coffee, damn it. And everybody, you know what? I'm buying everybody $11 coffee. I'm on vacation. I call that vacation logic, where you just, your logic goes away to some people. So you can do that logic anytime. You can be like, I need this. I'm doing it. So to answer your question, they were building lots in August for fourth quarter. I don't think they were going to oversaturate. Obviously, I have the in because I was there at the factory and I know a bunch of things that why they were doing what they were doing. When I say that, I mean all the brands, and all the brands seem to be on the same page about where the market's going to be and where the prices and the products need to be to hit that market as a whole. So I don't know. Susan says, "What's a vacation?" I know. Hey, you know what? Next year, I didn't do vacation this year. We always try to take a 3-day weekend, like every year. And this year will be the first year we just didn't take a 3-day weekend or a weekend. I don't know how it happened. We both looked at each other going, the year's almost over. So, but it's okay. Let's see. A lot of people are like, oh, vacations. Vacations are a fun thing. Take vacations. My best advice to give you guys, as I don't do it myself. I usually do, but definitely take a vacation. All right. So here's a fun segment. So we're going to change things up today. We're going to do gear of the week today. Okay. So I thought it'd be fun, a little change of pace. We're going to do gear of the week instead of guitar of the week. And we're going to go over, since it's the holidays coming, we're going to go over the new gear that's coming out and some of the deals that are out there. I thought it'd be fun to kind of go over, recap it, talk about it, and see what's going on out there because, you know, I remember, you know, it's funny. I remember just like it was yesterday, episode 300 and 300 and blah, 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 when we were like, there's no real deals on Black Friday. And now it seems like there's deals, but is there? Because, you know, what's funny is when I was looking at Black Friday deals and I would see real deals this year, and this is what I want to talk about before we go into the segment. Every time I see a deal right now, I don't know what made me do this, but I did it. I saw a deal. I go, that's a really crazy deal. Like, why are they blowing this out for that? And then I went online and looked at used and I was like, whoa, these things people are dumping their used gear. So every time I've seen a really good deal, just be aware used is where the money savings really is. But let's go ahead. I have new graphics. I have new everything. Let's do gear of the week. Let's hit it. Let's switch screens.
And now it's time for gear of the week.
All right, so I thought the first piece of gear we would check out this week is the Troika. This is a pedal that's JHS and Third Man Hardware, which is Jack White's company, I believe. And they made a delay with 3 sliders. And it's, you know, they keep making these outrageously crazy pedals with delay. And this was one. And I watched the video with Josh from JHS. So, you know, I guess he said he filmed this last year. So even though he's been recently in an accident, this was obviously from last year. And of course, because of good marketing, as always, they sold out in a minute. So if you wanted one, you can't find one. But what's weird about this is it sounded really cool. So let's check out how it sounded first. Now, what's strange about this is that Black Mountain also did a pedal where it's like a Roto Echo delay pedal with a roller that does what I thought sounded kind of similar to this. And they sent me one. I actually have it. And then right when I was going to release the video, they told me not to release the video. So I never released it. But anyways, I thought it sounded really cool and I actually kind of liked better. So this is their demo of that. And of course, another piece of gear, unless you were outside this week enjoying your life and not watching YouTube, the Joyo Jam Buddy 2. Now, I did a video of the Joyo Jam Buddy 1 years back, but the Jam Buddy 2 has more stuff, I guess, including a magazine rack. I'm just kidding. This is a cell phone holder on the back and it has USB-C, looks like. It has a headphone out, of course. The Joyo logo you see on that grill is a speaker. There's two little speakers in there. So you can hear this. This is a little amplifier on the floor that will have reverb and delay and effects. And of course, you can jam along with the backing tracks and stuff. And it's about $100, it looks like. So, I mean, I found it for $95 on Tolman's website. So I haven't seen it for sale anywhere else yet, but pretty cool. I don't know much about it. You know, they did a big product launch. And as you guys know, we kind of try to stay away from big product launches. If I get caught up in them from time to time, you know, that happens. But anytime we smell it coming, we kind of back off and then try to talk about the product later and spend some time with context with it. Okay, so this is not new product, but this is discounted product for the holidays. They did this last year. So Dimarzio Pickups is doing a 25% off sale on their website. But what's cool to know is that you can also get them for 25% off at Sweetwater. However, I did a little research. If you buy a pickup at Sweetwater and get the discount, you don't pay shipping, but you pay sales tax. If you buy a pickup on Dimarzio's website, you don't pay sales tax, but you pay shipping. So what I figured out putting them in carts is you have to buy at least $200, or I want to say 3 pickups, or let's just say $200 plus worth of stuff. So if you buy $200 worth of stuff, I would definitely just go direct to Dimarzio, where you don't pay sales tax, because the shipping only increases per item about $1 a piece after the first initial shipping charge, where Sweetwater, the sales tax is just a percentage of the total. So in other words, if you're going to buy 1 pickup, you might just go with Sweetwater. If you're going to buy 2 or 3, you might want to check out Dimarzio's website and save yourself a little money. I'm going to buy a Super Distortion, and I'm just going to buy it straight from Sweetwater because the tax on 1 pickup is like $8, and the shipping for 1 pickup at Dimarzio is like $13, $14. Okay, so this is something you guys all sent me. This is the IK Multimedia Tonex plug headphone amplifier. This is kind of like when they did the Katana headphone amplifier. And I think Blackstar has one. A bunch of companies have these. Essentially, you plug it into your guitar with an 1/8" cable. It's a little box. It's got a little volume control on the side. And just like probably the Tonex little mini pedal, you can put your amp tones in there. And it's basically a really good headphone amp for $150. I'm not really into headphones, so this isn't really marketed towards me, but I know you guys love them, and I understand the value of being able to play guitar and not interrupt people if you're in an apartment or home or on vacation or traveling. It's just really cool that way. And I do have a little headphone amplifier. It's also a little speaker, and that's why I like it. I use the Spark Go, and it's fine. And why I like it is it's not as small as this, but it's small, and I can use it as a little Bluetooth speaker. And for me, when I travel, I used to always take a Bluetooth speaker so I can have music in the hotel room when I'm getting ready in the mornings or in the afternoons when I'm relaxing and working. And so now having the Bluetooth speaker also be a little guitar amplifier and a little headphone amplifier, to me, it's just it's what I'm interested in. Okay, so for me, this was the highlight of the new gear coming out. This is the Gretsch Streamliner Jet Club 1 pickup electric guitar. Comes in 3 colors, this olive drab, a black, and a pink. It's 1 pickup streamed down. Now, what I love is it's got the cool Gretsch headstock as far as I'm concerned. It's got the white falcon looking over dramatic headstock that I love. And really, to be honest, without that headstock and the Gretsch logo, this guitar is not very exciting. But they did another version, the Gretsch Streamliner Jet 1 pickup, and they actually have a 2 pickup version in a blue color, like an off-white, like ivory, and then a black. And there's a bunch in this whole series. I actually love the Streamliner Jet 2 in this green. I think it's fantastic. These guitars are about $319, so you're talking about pickup guitars ranging from $189 to $350. It's one of those things. Yeah, there's already guitars just like this at these prices. But, owning a Gretsch is a cool thing. And, I'm curious about the neck carves and the vibe. Now, this isn't new gear, but this is more of what we're seeing is dealers just blowing out stuff. This is the Jimi Hendrix Love Drops Flying V by Epiphone, and it was $1,500. Sweetwater's got it down to $11.99, but however, one of my patrons found Empire Music has it for $9.99. Now, of course, they're charging shipping on that where Sweetwater isn't, but either way, essentially $400 to $500 off this guitar makes it a little bit more obtainable. Still not affordable, but more obtainable. And, things like this, if you're a Hendrix fan and you want this V, I suggest you buy it because, after they blow them out, they'll go back up. In other words, the used value will be close to this. And I pulled up some Reverb listings, and these are actual ones that sold for about $900 to $1,000. And it looks like the prices are coming down right now, but I think that's because they're dumping the new ones. So again, it's not a smoking deal, but I think, a couple months ago, you'd be buying a used one of these for the price they're trying to sell you a new one. And I know Black Friday's coming and you got to look for deals out there to see what's going on. And there's a lot of deals, especially now with the market. But one of the deals I liked that I picked up was the Boss TU3 tuner. It's normally like $110 and they're selling them for $79. And I'm sure Boss has lowered the map because when you go look at them on Reverb, they're selling for $40 to $60 on average, which is crazy to think that a pedal from Boss that's $110 is getting $40 used. That's crazy. Boss always got like 60, 70% used. At the worst, worst was 50%. But $79 isn't horrible now for a new one. So if you can't find if you can't find a good used one, I'd suggest checking this out for $80. It's a dependable pedal, and the prices will only go up in the future again for sure. And if I didn't mention, it's also available for the same price at Guitar Center and Sweetwater. So my guess is it's a Roland Boss thing. So if you got a local mom and pop shop that does Boss, go check them out. You'll save some money and help out a small dealer during the holidays. If you guys like this segment, this idea, let me know. And if you want to make it better, help me out by sending me some deals you see. You can send it to the askknowyourgear@gmail.com email address. I'll put the link in the description. Don't send me your life story. Just send me the deal that you see on gear and the link to where you're getting it, or the mom and pop store that's offering it. Also, if you see new gear or new exciting things, same thing. Don't send me a long story. Just send me what you found, and that will help us out to make this better.
Gear of the week.
Okay, so I gotta say how much I appreciate my wife doing the.
And now it's time for Gear of the Week. And now,
you know what's funny is I have the Guitar of the Week one. I can do the cool.
Now it's time for guitar. Now it's time for Guitar of the Week.
Yeah, I gotta get the gear one to do that. Okay, a couple things. I like playing with all these. Look, I'm kind of working this out. The space station's starting to work now with all the segments that I can switch between. Okay, so here's a couple things that I wanted to go over because I'm looking at comments real quick. Let me scan real fast. And here's one. Here's one that says, what does it say? It says, scrolling. Give me a second. Maybe not. Hold on. Somewhere, anywhere. Here's one. Somebody's asking me, it says, which Dimarzio pickup sounds most like the Seymour Duncan JB? So I don't think, by the way, just picturing somebody's eyes rolling in their head right now. Anyways, I don't know if any Dimarzio that actually sounds exactly like the JB. I don't. They're kind of voiced different. I mean, all the pickups that I know from Seymour Duncan are Dimarzio are voiced differently than that. I would say most people would relate the Super Distortion and the JB as being the two competing products in those for Duncan and Dimarzio. I'm not saying they sound alike. I'm just saying those are the two competing products, right? Like if you look back at the 80s, everybody either had a JB in the bridge or they had a Super Distortion. That's kind of like the thing, right? I would say that if I was going to, because I like the JB, so to me, if I thought there was an actual Dimarzio JB pickup, being that I'm friends with Dimarzio, I would probably just put that in some of my guitars. But when I want a JB, I put a JB in it. However, I would say the closest I have in my ears to the guitars I have that have pickup, it would be the Tone Zone. And I'm sure a lot of people would disagree, but and here's what's funny about that. My screen did not freeze. My brain froze as I don't know if I don't think I'm clear to tell this story, so I don't think I can tell you guys. There's a story. How about this? There's an article on Dimarzio's website where Larry Dimarzio talks about the story about making the pickups for Eddie Van Halen for the Access, or essentially the Music Man guitar, the signature guitar. And I don't know to this. I cannot, for the life of me, because I read that article, I cannot remember what's in the article and what was told to me personally that might be outside the article. As far as I know, he didn't tell me anything outside what he told you guys. He didn't leave anything out. But what I want to tell you is that when they started making the pickup for Eddie Van Halen, this stuff is mostly known, and if I'm going to go outside the bounds, I'll deal with it later. When they made the pickup for Eddie, he really liked the JB. That's really what he liked. In fact, so when the way the story was told to me by Larry was, they were invited out, just like Seymour Duncan was invited out, and a bunch of pickup manufacturers were invited out to essentially make a pickup for Eddie Van Halen's Music Man. And the Music Man guys told him that he was coming out with a guitar that looks kind of like a Tele and a Les Paul came together, which all of them were like, well, what? You imagine not seeing the Access or the Music Man guitar. You can imagine how, if somebody described it like that, now it makes sense. Like, oh, I see it now. But then they were like, what? And at the time, Eddie liked this Seymour Duncan JB. So it was like a shoe-in that Seymour Duncan would get the contract. And through this story that happens, what happens is, as we all know, Larry Dimarzio and Dimarzio Pickups gets the contract to make the guitars for Eddie, or the pickups. And they made some prototypes and they took them to Eddie. And the final prototype, I know this is in the article, so I'm cool with this. They narrowed it down to like 2 pickups for the bridge. And they said, which one? To Eddie. And Eddie said, I don't know, Steve, you decide. So Steve Lukather was standing there, and Steve Lukather's like, you like this one, Eddie? And Eddie's like, okay, that one. And so Steve Lukather picked, essentially the story goes, Steve Lukather picked the pickup that is in that guitar. To this day, by the way, if you buy a Music Man Access, a USA one, it still has the same set of Dimarzio pickups that were made for Eddie Van Halen when he had a signature model. They never changed. The pickup that was not picked was the Tone Zone. So that's why I say I think the Tone Zone, one, I like the Tone Zone. I have a lot of them, but it was, I think, like I said, Larry didn't tell me this personally that, hey, we were just trying to make a Seymour Duncan for Eddie. But I would imagine if that's what he liked, everybody was chasing that sound. I would imagine that the pickup that's in that guitar in the Tone Zone, which is slightly different than that pickup, I would imagine those pickups would have a Seymour Duncan vibe. I don't say it's the same. So when I'm saying that is I have guitars with both of them in them. And I think, to me, the Tone Zone and the JB, the main difference to me is the JB's got more mids. Seems like the mids are just a little more like in the, right? Which is why I've always think that almost all Dimarzios do so well with Marshalls, who are very mid-heavy amps, and the Duncans do well with Fenders, which are very mid-scooped amps. That's just kind of how I always kind of look at those pickups. That's again what I call a broad brushstroke. So, if somebody goes, no, Phil, you're wrong. It's not that I'm wrong or right. It's just I'm kind of just giving a big broad brushstroke. If we dialed it down to specifics, it would just, we'd be able to pick apart what I just said. But as a general saying, it's pretty, I think it's pretty accurate. So I would say the Tone Zone. That's my long way. But I want to give you, yeah. Brian says Super Distortion was Super Distortion because it was good enough for Ace. Of course. The Super Distortion is a great pickup, especially if you're trying to go for vintage sound. And isn't that funny to say that now? Isn't that funny? Like, right? I'm going to trigger somebody saying that the 80s is the vintage sound. That's a vintage sound now too, guys. You need that 80s vintage sound. It's like the 70s, 60s, 50s. Goes on and on. But yeah, that would be my answer. So, Run Riot says, hey, I don't really like the JB, something about the mids. Yeah, well, it's really, I think they're pronounced. I like mids, but I don't like the JB's mids. So, that's interesting point there, because that's going to go to another good question that I got here. And this all ties back in. I'm doing great on segues today, if I can figure this out. Maybe not. Maybe I can't figure it out. So, basically, I just read the question. All right. I grabbed it and I can't find it, but I just saw it. So I'm going to go off what I can remember. I apologize if I get it wrong. Essentially, the question is, they're asking me about out-of-phase sounds. So I saw it. I read it real fast. Maybe Amanda grabbed it. Maybe that's where I just saw it. Things are just kind of flashing at me, you guys, so you know, in the show. I get a lot of things flashing at me. So the question is, somebody was asking, essentially this ties into what we were talking about mids just a second ago, about mid-range. They were saying, hey, why would a guitar manufacturer make a guitar that has that out of phase sound? They said they were also mentioning that I sometimes refer to as nasal. So if you guys know what we're talking about, phase in, phase out of phase sound. The out of phase sound to me is always this really nasal mids, and this is a perfect example. Mids to me are everything. The mid-range frequencies to me personally. Bass I think is is important and treble is important, but to me, when the mids are wrong, everything sounds weird, like a cocked wah. There's a sound that digital does, and it sounds like a cocked wah. Now, some people like it because if you like Michael Schenker, you probably like the cocked wah sound. He was known for doing that, but sometimes when you don't want that, it sounds weird. It sounds like the wah pedal's still on, and the question is, why would they do that? So I'm not doing guitar of the week, but I do have So it's a Kiesel. I do have a Kiesel. So as you guys know, I have the PM Delos, which is right there. It's my guitar with Kiesel. But what you may not know is I have this Carcass. I'm not kidding. I have a guitar. It's a Delos, but it's used for abuse. As you guys remember, I used to abuse my copper Strat and do all kinds of things, different pickups. So this guitar has all kinds of wiring in it, pickups in it, and all kinds of stuff that I do to it to work out ideas. And this actually has an out-of-phase switch. So I'm going to show you why you would want an out-of-phase sound. I could probably tell you all day like this, but it would never make sense. Okay, so I'm on a neck pickup. What I'm playing doesn't matter. I mean, single coil. Okay, so I'm gonna play some drums, play the guitar. I'm not gonna play a song. I just want to show you this is not out of phase. So I'm gonna show you that first. Okay, here we go. Okay, so that was regular. Here's the same thing out of phase. So where normally, turn that off, where normally you would not want that sound, I wouldn't want. Okay, country, right? Picks through, it's got a thing. This is not out of phase again. But it cuts through a mix. I mean, that. So that's why you would want it. And that ties into two things. One, that answers that question, but also answers the question a second ago when they said they didn't like the JB because they like mids, they just don't like those mids. Yeah, that's what people don't understand. There's the mid frequencies. They're a bigger spectrum than you think. It's not just mids. There's mids. There's mid-range frequencies. And same thing. When the mids are wrong, I just can't unhear it and I can't stand it. And when the mids are missing, I just feel like it's lifeless. Like it's just void of everything that I love about that makes me want to play the music. So mids are very important, which is why I've said this for years when it comes to pedal manufacturers and amp manufacturers specifically, and of course guitar manufacturers. Their ears are, to me, more important than their technical know-how. I have seen, in my experience, I've seen smart people who can build an amplifier and design, all kinds of things, whether it's technology-based equipment like, modelers or pedals or what have you, but their ear is shit. And I just tell them like, yeah, that's great. But it doesn't sound good. And I've seen people with great ears who can't build, but can find somebody who can build, and vice versa. And my best advice in this industry that I've seen is this: if you have a great ear and you have the technical know-how, then you're set. If you're missing one of those, go find the other counterpart, which is why some manufacturers are smart and they hire artists to do signature product because the artists have the ear. They go, yeah. So, because there's an argument. It's like, hey, look, I built this amp and it's built beautifully. And the artist's like, yeah, but it sounds like crap. So you can't have one or not the other. So let's see. El Dunaria says Dimarzio's ear must be shit. You know what's funny is that is a weirdly odd compliment. Isn't that funny? Because I think, I'm sure he has a great ear. I think he has a great ear, but I know your point. I get your point because he has like all the artists, right? He definitely worked with everybody. And so did Duncan, because you got to understand, Seymour Duncan and Dimarzio pretty much forever were the two pickups we went to. I mean, there was a time in my life Where if you ask me who makes pickups, I'd be like Dimarzio and Duncan. And they go, who makes pedals? And I'm like DOD and Boss. Oh, and MXR. Probably MXR and Boss. And then maybe DOD, right? But that'd be it. Like everything was two things. You would just forever. I just remember. I mean, obviously it wasn't true. There was more than two things, but you would just know two things. That's all you knew was two things. There was two companies who did a thing, and that's it. And then there was 5,000 companies, and now there's 5,000 brands, but only two companies who do things. So it's all, see how it works? There was two companies originally, and then 5,000 companies, and now 5,000 brands with two companies. Kind of. All right, we need to get back. We need to get this up. I don't want to say. I'm going to say Mr. Rowe says that's why the Andertons guys did the thing with Blackstar and had them Black had them do with Blackstar, so their hearing had the Blackstar engineer come and make the patch. Yeah, like I said, I like both versions, but I think I prefer the Anderton version a little better. Like I said, when I said that, I think I said it in the video, but I'm saying it now too. I preferred their version, Anderton's version. I preferred it better, but not in the, I didn't like the first version. Now I like their version. It's just, I like the first version and theirs is just a little better. So. Fast Teddy. You know, when they say a comma is really important, Fast Teddy 333 or Fast Eddie. Fast Eddie 333 says, "Hey Phil, did you sell your 12-string guitars?" Nope. No, I own two 12-string guitars, and at some point there'll be two videos for those guitars. It's not a time restraint. It's not the videos aren't ready. It's not the guitars. It's that they're specific for videos that just aren't. They're not ready to be ready yet. If that makes any sense. But yeah, I still have two 12-string guitars, and there'll be two 12-string videos at some point. Crud Dog says, "Hey, have you heard of Revival pickups?" I have not. There's so many, right? Joe says Lawler is another good pickup maker. Oh, there's a ton of great pickup makers now, but yes, Lawler is fantastic. So, okay, let's go to refresh this. Jeff says, "Hey, I have a classic Vibe 60 Strat. I play classic rock and blues. I'm thinking of putting a Gibson mini humbucker in the bridge. Thoughts?" I've done that. I've actually put a mini humbucker in a guitar and the bridge in this ever-ending quest to have a balance of sound. You know, like, oh, the humbucker was just too overpowering, and then I went to single coils and the volume dropped, and I didn't like that, so I tried a mini humbucker. I tried the mini humbucker in the bridge, and it was fine. So when I say it's fine, you might love it. It didn't solve my particular problem, but you might not have the particular problem I had. I had the problem is, like I said, I wanted to switch from neck and back to bridge and not have a massive volume dropout. So I wanted the pickups to be more voiced. How did I solve that eventually? Yeah, I went to lace. So all my pickups are lace, and I have the blue, silver, red set, and so that's where I went. But you know, I understand some people don't like the lace sounds. But I'd say give it a try. I wish I still had the pick guard. I had a pick guard that had the mini humbucker. I would just send it to you, but I tossed it at some point about a year or two ago. That's why you shouldn't toss it. Shouldn't toss stuff like that. Antique Rocker says, "Hey, in the video you install P-rails in a triple shot system." So he's talking about the triple shot. So let's make sure, because this is one of those things where people are going to be like, what? So I have a video where I did an LTD guitar, and the video was I took the P-rails, which is a Seymour Duncan pickup. I'm going to show you that. The P-rails are some of, I think, the coolest pickups Seymour Duncan's ever done. And here's what it is. Move things around. So the P-rails is a pickup that is a humbucker, but of course this is like a P90, and this is a single coil. So when they're both on, you have a humbucker, but then you have a P90 or a single coil. And then you can get something called, whatever he called it. He said... It's funny because I know what they're called, but because he just said it, and now my brain's spacing it. He said, you put the triple shots. So the triple shots, let's talk about that. So the P-rails, of course, now you explain what that is. The triple shots are these cool pickup rings that Seymour Duncan makes, that have little switches in them. And the little switches let you do everything that I basically did in that guitar a minute ago. So you can see these little switches right here. There's two. So you could, if you push them both out, you'll have, I forget all the combinations because I got to read the instructions again. But essentially, you can have a humbucker, a single coil, or you can have it out of phase, or you can have the outer humbucker, a single coil, or the inner single coil. There's all kinds of ways you can wire this up. And I did a video wiring it up, and yes, so in that video. So now we're all up to speed. That's what those things are he's asking. I have a video if you want to watch it. On that, I show you the guitar and how to install those. He says, do you still have the guitar? I don't. I don't have, so let's be very clear. There was a time where we would keep guitars. We keep no guitars now from videos unless the video just happened to be a video that I used my personal guitar in for some reason. So any guitars for videos are just immediately, they're gone. So usually what happens is somebody just emails me right after the video and says, hey, I want to buy that. And I go, oh, Shauna says, okay. And we send it off, or, we trade it off or sell it off, or it's just how we churn the gear. There's just no reason to hold on to anything that isn't specific for me. So a good example is, yes, if a company makes me a specific guitar for me, right? So it's specific to me, not just like I picked the color, but it's specific in every way for me. Well, yeah, then maybe we'll keep that guitar because there's, a reason to keep it, maybe a sentimental reason. But otherwise, unless it's my personal guitar, all guitars we get rid of. And it's because, you can't do, 100, think of this, we do more than that, but we can't do 100 videos a year and have 100 guitars a year. There'd be 1,000 guitars here if I did that. I'm not even exaggerating. There'd be 1,000 guitars. So there's just no way. So that's why they have to go. So the only exceptions to that are, like I said, if it's a personal guitar for me for some reason, otherwise the guitars go immediately. And we used to hold on to them because companies, would be like, hey, we want you to hold on to this so you can put in the background of, and actually, and here's the funny part. When I say that out loud, I should actually say it this way. A couple companies did that, very few, not even like 6. Most companies, we would just do that for them, but they didn't care. So that's what it is. So like I bought the Bones guitar for me for Halloween, for the Halloween video. So that's mine. I obviously bought the Majesty for me. That's my Kiesel. So those, that's why those will stick around because they're my guitars. The guitar over there, the Hagstrom, the IKEA caster, I did buy that to make a video, but reason we haven't got rid of it is because I don't want to just sell it off. I want to do something with it. So there's certain guitars like that. Certain guitars. So I guess the exception to when we sell a guitar is sometimes we'll donate the guitars. We do donate guitars to schools or charities, and sometimes we find a good home for a guitar, so to speak, because there's just no monetary gain to get from that. That guitar, the IKEA caster I bought for $100. So if I sold it, I'd sell it for $100, and $100 is good, but it's not going to fund in another video. So, but I just want you to understand that's why we don't have it. So that's why it's gone. I bought that guitar. I bought that guitar from Sweetwater, full price. I bought all the pickups and those triple shots full price from Sweetwater, and just to make that video. So, and I know you want to know, how did that work out? I lost money, but I make money on other videos, and that's how it works. It's an averaging plan, and I'm averaging fine. But yeah, I thought that would be a good video. I'm glad. Look, by the way, Antique Rocker, I know this sounds self-serving, but I just want to say it. When you guys mention videos like that, like, hey, I like that video for whatever reason, dude, it just makes my life so awesome because I'm like, yeah, I'm glad, because it was on paper, there was just no reason to make that video. Other than I thought it'd be a good video and somebody would like it. So when somebody likes it, that's the payout for that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it sound like it's hard out here. It's cool because, like I said, where every video I make like that, there's a sponsored video or some kind of, other video. But it's nice to hear that. So let's let you know. We have Damien. Damien says, hey, Phil, the saddle height adjustment screws on my Strat are sharp and scraping my hand. Can these be filed or softened somehow? I would not file or soften them. It's not going to be worth your time. You basically just want to cut them and lower them or replace them with new grub screws. I will put a link here when I timestamp this to a video short. I have a short video, literally a YouTube short. In fact, can I go to it and save everybody a little time and headache? where I tell you basically, I think not only how to cut them, but also where to buy them at. Install pickup string hack. You know what we'll do? I'll do this. I'll make it easy for myself and for you. There is a playlist. I will link the playlist to all the short videos. So a lot of times you guys will say to us, hey, I like that you taught that in that video, but I can't remember where in the video or what the video was. We clip those and put them in YouTube Shorts for you guys. And then so you guys know, we do not send YouTube Shorts to you guys, the subscribers. So subscribers don't get notified the shorts exist. We just put them on the platform so you have them as a resource. So you go to that playlist. In there, I'll show you how to fix that grub screw and or replace it with a new one. And if you really, really want to do something better, you can get really cool saddles from Stu Mac. And you can, and again, I always tell people, use Stu Mac as the resource. And then let's see. I'm going to use saddles. So bridge saddles. I have a Sharp Max, and I think I have a video on Stu Mac's channel of these. I do. Think about this. It's a double whammy. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to double whammy this thing. Okay, I'm going to type in Philip McKnight, Stu Mac. So whether you guys know it or not, I have videos on Stu Mac's website as well, our channel. And look at that. Okay, so look at that. So on the Stu Mac channel, Phil McKnight shows off our new Squire Stratocaster hardware kit. I did that 6 years ago, 151,000 views. You're welcome, Stu Mac. Stu Mac asked me to do a bunch of videos, and then a lot of you guys weren't loving them on the channel. And I told Stu Mac, I go, they're not loving these on the channel. So the fix was, we'll put them on our channel. We still want you to do them. So to answer your question, in that video, I show you guys a bunch of things, including this amazing thing right here called the Highwood Contoured Vintage Saddles for Strat. This thing is $0 because it's out of stock. Normally $63. These are saddles. You can probably find them anywhere else. But whether or not you know it, if you look from the side here, you can see, look at how cool this is. See how they bend? They bend it. So for those listening later, the saddles look like bent saddles like a normal Strat, but they're bent in a way that the scrub screws are inside and don't come to the top. And your hand feels nice and smooth if that bugs you. So that would definitely pass the sock test. So you can cut your grub screws down, you can replace your grub screws with new ones, or you can buy those saddles and never have to worry about any of that ever again if you got less than $100. And then Crud Dog wants to remind everybody that Stu Mac is expensive. Crud Dog, we all know Stu Mac's expensive. We've all felt the pain. But I think, thank you for reminding us. But yes, they know they're expensive. The important part, though, is always, one more time, always for fun, always go to Stu Mac for resources. Go there. They have every part. And you find the part, and then when you find the part, you then can source it from the place you want to buy, or a version of it if you want to save some money, or just buy it from them. I don't care either way. I do both, so I'm not going to be a hypocrite and go to Stu Mac and buy everything. I buy a lot from Stu Mac, and I buy a lot, as you guys know, from Amazon and everybody else, because like everybody else, I'm like, I can't. Sometimes I even look at the price and I go, I just can't do it, Stu Mac. I can't do this price. Crud Dog says it's the shipping. Oh yeah, the shipping is just beyond stupid. So I've given up. I want to keep fighting the fight for you guys. Years. Did you know, I'm not joking. Did you know that the people at Stu Mac for the longest time couldn't find my YouTube channel because every time they searched it, they typed in Philip, why don't you make free shipping, McKnight? Because every time I said that, they thought that was my name. Because I'd say, why don't you make shipping free? That's a joke, by the way, but not really. Because every time I saw Stu Mac, you need to make shipping free. You need to make shipping free. Why don't you make shipping free? My audience would like you more if you had shipping free. I'd like you more if shipping free. Did you know Sweetwater's got free shipping? I have hammered them so much, and every time they've given me another reason why they're never going to do free shipping. So now, more 10 guitar I guess that's more 10 Guitar says free shipping with StewMax. Yes, we do the StewMax special. We did it a couple years ago for a couple times and we didn't do it. And I'm very upfront. Keep in mind, because of the fact, look, it's just the way the world works. Because I do deep dives and because in every deep dive I'm using tools and because I've been using StewMax tools my entire career as we're working on guitars, you guys, you being all audience members, people who watch the videos, click on StewMax. So StewMax, I get probably more clicks to StewMax than any other affiliate link than I do. So let's just say it's not a lot of money because that's just not how it works, but it's a lot of clicks that convert into a lot of sales, and that's good for them, and that's good. That being said, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that the reason we stopped doing the StewMax deal is they did a deal for us 2 years in a row, which I really appreciated, where they gave you guys half off and a discount, half off StewMax deal. And we did the deal. And then the last year we did it, the reason we stopped, and if StewMax ever hears this, or StewMax ever hears this, they'll know, but I'm pretty sure we told them. I'm very sure we told them. The reason we stopped is they did it to 1 year where they gave me a half off deal to give you guys, and then that we did it in December, and then in January they gave it away for free. And I'm like, I'm not going to screw my own audience over. If you knew you're going to give it away for free, you should have gave it to my audience for free. And so that put a bad taste in my mouth, and that ended that kind of working with them. Now, before you guys get all high and mighty, because you will, and I'll say, oh my God, that's horrible. I hate StewMac forever. You got to keep in mind that's more of the marketing side of the company and less of the company itself. So I'm just saying, like, be sure who you're mad at. So I'm not even sure if it was StewMac or the marketing agency that works with StewMac or whoever came up with that. But yeah. Embellico, I'm going to say Embellico says, I'm sorry, Phil, but I'm not a happy camper with Stew presently. Oh, that's weird. I've never had a bad experience buying from them. The one thing is they will definitely take care of you. So if you're not having a good time with StewMac, I'm really shocked to hear that. You should talk to somebody else at StewMac, because they'll charge you a fortune, but they always take care of you. That's the one thing I can say. Let's see. Paddle Pal Effects. What's up, guys? He says, hey, Phil, saw your review on the Blackstar ID, and you mentioned the Boss Katana is still one of your favorites in this category. Are there any other amplifiers in this style worth trying? Well, they're all good. That's the problem, right? You got the Catalyst by Line 6, which is very good. The Katana is very good. That new X amp is very good. The Blackstar ID, I mean, that's the problem. They're all really good. First of all, who's copying who? I don't know. The only thing that sucks is why do they all make them look alike? That's kind of the weird part now. But you know what? At this point, it's a utility product, which means something, it would be nicer if it was a little sexier. But I mean, for $300 and it does everything, they sound fantastic. That's why videos like that are hard for me. So that's why, like, in that video, if you notice, like, I'm like, I still like the Katana, because I want you guys to understand, like, this whole, like, wow, Blackstar blew everybody away. No, they approached the same thing differently. And there's reasons why, a little burp, they approached it differently. Like I said, I think more like an amp maker. And so it's like an amp maker's take on a Katana. And then the Catalyst is like a Line 6 take on the Katana. And the Katana is their take on whatever amp they took it from. So that's my point. They're all really good. Is there a bad one? That's the real thing. Is there a bad one? Yeah, all the dated modeling amps I think are really not great compared to these. So any of the modeling amps from 10 years ago that predate the Katana, I think once the Katana came, it leveled everybody up. Everybody either had to up their game to that or copy that. And so yeah, I would say that's the only thing. But keep in mind they're utility products, which means I don't think they're supposed to blow us away with how great they are. I think they're just supposed to be really good, and they are. Let's see. Okay. Okay, Chris says, hey, Phil, I'm new to the channel. I have a pedal chain stacking question. Here are the devices and amps in play: a Boss GT6 Multi-Effects, Boss SDE, Boss GE7, Boss Katana, 50 Gen 3, Vox Cambridge 50. I don't know. What would I do? Like, how would I set that all up? Well, I would imagine if you're using the GT6, I don't know if you're using it for the multi-effects or for the actual overdrives, or if you're going to use the amps to overdrive. The SDE3, I would say if I was using all that, I might try the Boss G7 in... Oh, the Katana Gen 50 doesn't have an effects loop. So that's where I would put that. I don't know if I would, to be honest with you, this is what sucks. I don't know if I'd use anything besides the GT6. If I had the Boss Katana, I'd use the Boss GT6. What I need to see, I need to visualize this for a second. Hold on a second. So, I mean, your SDE3, your digital delay, I mean, I feel like, the EQ, Boss EQ is better than what's in the GT6, and the SDE delay is probably better than the delay in the GT6, but I almost feel like you don't need those pedals if you're using the GT6 unless they're specific to the sounds that you have. And then I would put the delay, pedal in the EQ after the modeling, the GT6 modeler. I'd have modeler, and then because the delay is going to be last anyways, put the delay absolute last in the EQ. Unless I'm using the EQ for a boost, you could put that in front of the GT6 if you want to use it as a boost pedal, or after the GT6 if you want to shape sounds with it. You have to decide what you're going to use the EQ for. And then in front of the amps, it doesn't matter. You just put it in front of one of the amps. And I'm not familiar with the Vox Cambridge 50, so that's like, I don't know what the features on that amp is. So I would imagine it's like the Katana, but I don't know. Happy Good Thing says, hey, okay, Josh of Queens of the Stone Age got a Peavey Decade practice amp released as a signature. I remember that in January. It's one of those like amps that they couldn't give away, and then now that they found out he uses it, they all went up in a fortune, and then they made one. And I believe we talked about this when it came out, that somebody makes a pedal of that. And I think even Peavey's going to make a pedal of it, but somebody makes a pedal of it. It's supposed to be cool. Sir Toggle, that's what I'm going to say. Togll, that's how I see it. Phil, with IK Multimedia releasing the Tonex plug and apparently a nice usable PC interface, do you think the bigger Tonex modeler... Oh, do you think there's a bigger Tonex modeler in the making? I would imagine with the success of Tonex, they'll expand the line out because, yes, first of all, Tonex came out, it was a price point thing, right? So they came out, they were just cheaper than everybody else. They had the thing. Then they came out with the mini Tonex. They were smaller than everybody. So it was like, we're cheaper. Now we're cheaper and smaller. This earphone amp thing, again, it's just, because once, think about it, it's like the universe, right? Like they call it the Marvel universe, right? All these movies have universes now. The Predator universe. There's a Tonex universe. You have a consumer, and they're in that ethos. They're in the ecosystem of the universe. I don't know. I'm just saying a lot of words. That basically, you like Tonex, you're going to use Tonex for everything. So eventually, why wouldn't you use a bigger Tonex module? Especially, I think, if they did a big model, price-wise, it'd be really hard for a lot of players to justify going up to the prices of what Line 6 and everybody else has. So, yeah, I think I could see that coming. I would be shocked. I don't work with Tonex, guys. I don't know anybody there. So there's one of those companies that just, I think I tell you guys this all the time. We work with very few companies. Very few companies reach out to us. And the ones that do usually reach out to every single channel on the planet Earth. and on top of that, So, I don't know. There's no more to say than that. But yeah, just say Tonex. So everything you've seen Tonex from me is because I just bought Tonex stuff. Evil Bunny says, hey, what's up with the project? With the Dimar Filtertrons? I don't know. I don't know what that is. Are you talking about the Filtertron pickups? I don't know. What's up with the project? I don't know what Dimar means. So is it Dimar Filtertrons? I'll come back to that and see if I can figure it out later when I'm doing the recap. Cat's Music Journey says, hey, saw the chord video. Oh, no, we already did this one. So we got Gerald who says, hey, 2 active singles in humbucker wired apart. I have no idea. Some of these guys, you got to give me reference back to the whole thing again. And Harp D wants to know, what's the best pickups for playing country and a T-style guitar? I don't know. I mean, I'm going to go with... I don't play country, so for the most part. I played country in a bass, As a bass player, I've been in a country band, but never as a guitar player in a country band. Somebody said D. Armand. What's up with D. Armand Filtertron pickups? I don't know. That's my answer. But back to Tele pickups. Let's do that. Country pickup, Tele pickups. I don't know. There's so many good pickups. I don't know. I would imagine. I don't know. I want something to stick out in my head. It's like thinking of like a ultimate sound kind of thing, but I just can't think of anything. In my Telecaster, what I play is currently right now is I'm back to the BG 1400s. I was playing Lindy Fralins forever, and then I switched back to my BG 1400s. The BG 1400 is a stacked noiseless humbucker set from Seymour Duncan that I absolutely love. So Riverstone says, hey, Phil, can you run through your Reverb Gear 7 million? Dude, my 7 million comment is hilarious. I've seen it come up so many times now. So if you guys don't know, we were talking about gear once, and I made a comment that I have $7 million worth of gear. Actually, I didn't say it like that, but I kind of did. Like I was making a joke, right? I was like, oh, here's my gear, and I want to tell how much it is. I go, 7 million. And then a bunch of people thought it was funny, which is great. Some people, though, don't really grab sarcasm, and they were like, what? They're like, there's no way. It's like, so anyways, can I go through my gear? No, there's no way. So first of all, the problem is that I think I told Dr. Talk this before doing a gear video. We talked about it. We talked about how to do it. The problem is the only gear video worth making is my personal gear. Like, what is my personal gear? And maybe that would be interesting. But I mean, otherwise, like what's here all the time? I mean, any given time, it could be different stuff. But, I don't know. Maybe we'll do it one day. It's gotta make sense. So I always wonder. I try to see if I actually care. Like I try to watch, like, do I watch other people's gear videos, like all their collections? And I do sometimes and don't sometimes. You guys can do, if you guys just give me feedback on why, how interesting you think it would be and how I could approach it would be, maybe. Hold on a second. Okay. All right, let's go here. Go back to this screen. We got Kevin. What does Kevin want to say? He says, hey, I'm working on 3 guitars, no guitar to play, bad planning. If you are donating, giving away anything, would love to get. We only give to 501c or to teachers after school programs. That's the way we do it. And so that's just the way it works when it comes to donating guitars. So if you don't know what a 501c, it just means a legitimate charity. We generally will give more guitars to teachers just because they're more easy to deal with getting the guitars when we give them away. So I'm just letting you know that's how we do it when we do giveaways. We are either actively trying to raise money for a charity that I like, which is just because I want, and it really isn't about, and just to be clear, it's not about giving guitars away. It's about raising money for charities I like. I just learned over the years that I have this way of doing it because I have this channel. I can raise money for a charity with guitars. So I'll do it that way. However, a lot of times we'll just do after school programs because we can find local schools who actually just take them from us, and it just makes it an easier process for us. But that's usually the only 2 ways we do it. And also keep in mind, very rarely do we have free guitars. So a lot of the guitars that you see us, if we're selling them or whatever, just be very careful. When we say, because I can just pay attention because I don't really handle this. This is an important part. This is a Shauna thing. A lot of the guitars that are going back, they're going back to the companies because that's what was agreed upon. But then what happens is Shauna basically says, what's our price if we buy it? And then if the price is right, we know that we can sell it real fast and we can take that revenue and add it to making videos. So that's kind of the logic. So a lot of that stuff. Or in this case, in a lot of cases, it's actually the revenue of the channel. Like, in other words, the guitar was given in exchange for some kind of compensation so we can pay for the time to do the video because the video wasn't going to net very much. Gary says, what about us vets? We do for Guitars for Vets. That's the charity I use. I raise a certain amount for Guitars for Vets every year, and that's how I do it. So So we do guitars for vets. That's how we do it. If you're a vet, I would reach out to them. They have an amazing program for vets with PTSD where they will give vets with PTSD a guitar and lessons. And so a lot of times it's really hard to give them guitars because they don't need guitars, they need money. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just donate the money, and then we'll either sell the guitar or we'll figure out something out some other way. But the reason why they want donations is because charities like that can arrange to buy guitars. I believe, and things change all the time. I believe they have a deal with Yamaha guitars. So they have a deal where they get the guitar and everything donated, with a case or, some kind of gig bag and the whole 9 yards. And a lot of people, because I've had people voice concerns to me over the years, like, hey, Phil, I reached out to Guitars Vets and they didn't want my guitar. Or I reached out to this charity you're talking about and they didn't want my guitar. And I'm like, yeah, it's very hard to give charities guitars because a lot of times they don't know what you're going to give them and they don't want a problem, right? You see what I'm saying? And you're like, no, it's a great guitar. Well, everybody says that. Everybody has a different grade of what that is. I've had, and just so you guys know, if you've ever had any frustration with charities, just understand that I've had charities where I've said, hey, I want to donate 4 guitars to you. This has happened multiple times. The story I'm telling you specifically is the one I like to talk about the most. I had 4 guitars. I said, hey, I want to give you these 4 guitars. And they said, well, we don't want used guitars. And I said, well, these are brand new. I'm a YouTuber and I unboxed them. I did videos with them. And they go, yeah, but they're new, but you've had them. We don't know condition they are. And I'm like, oh, it's funny because I'm actually a guitar tech by trade. I set these guitars up. They play amazing, and they still wouldn't take them from me. So I was like, what the hell? I was like, okay. I don't know what to tell you. So, but yeah. So I find the best way to donate guitars, if you can, is to find a good charity, or if you can't find a good charity, since I don't really, it's not really about the write-offs or anything. It's not like that. So we just give them to teachers at after-school programs. Any teachers who do an after-school program. And by the way, I'll do churches too. So if somebody's teaching music at a church after, I don't think they call it after-service programs, but you understand, at a church teaching free lessons to kids, I'll give them guitars too. I think that makes total sense. We have a guitar right now that we're going to be giving to a school or a teacher. We just don't know who, because we're just going to, if you're a teacher and you would like to see if you can get a free guitar from us, definitely subscribe to the Know Your Gear Facebook page. That's where we'll post it. But also you can message us, because a lot of times that's what happens. We never have to post it because somebody messages us and says, hey, if you have a guitar, I'm a teacher at this school, this junior high, whatever, and I teach. And we do the same deal. We just have you come get the guitar, and that's it. And that's all you have to do. You just have to be local. We're not going to ship a guitar. We did that before for a teacher. If you guys remember a video, we did send a couple guitars, and that worked out great. And then we did it again, and it didn't work out great. There was some damage on the guitars, and I don't remember because it was pre-COVID, so it was over 5 years ago. I thought I remember what happened was I bought a guitar to send a guitar to replace the guitar, because there's something about the insurance. I don't know what it was. I just remember it was like, man, this doesn't need to be this complicated. So that's if that helps anybody, just follow those kind of rules if that helps. Yeah, Ellen says, good to know this. I was contemplating donating guitars to some of my mentioned organizations. Yeah, like I said, it's, you can always reach out and ask them. Trust me, reach out and ask the charities. But I'm saying if they basically are not interested, don't be offended. Just move on and just trust me. If somebody out there would like instruments to help. So, and I find that teachers, in my experience, and everything about charities for some reason riles people up. You never win. But so this will probably just be another thing that riles people up. But in my experience, teachers are so used to being underfunded and not having enough stuff. They know how to get stuff. I want to say this so I understand. I want to be very clear how I'm explaining this. What I mean by that is, like teachers know like how valuable stuff is. Like, so when I deal with a teacher and I'm like, and they go, hey, I'll give you this guitar. They're like, okay, great. I'll come get it. Because teachers are like, just like if I said, hey, I have, 20 boxes of pencils, they're like, oh, I'll come get it. Like they know they're teachers. A lot of teachers are hustling to fill the stuff they need for their classrooms or their after school programs and stuff. It's just in their nature to basically figure out how to work to get the stuff they need for their students. And so they're so easy. Or sometimes, like I said, in my experiences, the charities, they're not so much the same rules apply. Like they're not hustling that way. It's just, they'll take your check and that's about it. But all right, that's enough of that talk. Let's end this show, but on a guitar subject that's cool. I think all of them are cool, but this one will be super cool. I can feel it in my bones. Let's see. That's a great question. I actually want to hit that next week. Somebody put a question, Amanda pinned for me, but it would be great if I had, I thought about this recently. Sometimes I answer questions in real time, and then it hits me that if I would just grab the question like I just did and answer it next week, I could have props. I could get things from the shop to show you guys instead of doing stupid gestures with my hands. I could actually show you guys with real tools. So I'll do that. Let's see. What else do we got? Oh, cool. I really apologize. I don't know how to say your name, so I'm going to do my best to butcher it, but not butcher it. I'm going to say Abrishana. So that's just the way I'm saying it. If I'm wrong, I apologize. It's just phonetically, that's how it looks to me. It says, thanks for explaining why Guitars for Vets didn't want the brand new guitar from Amazon I sent to them. I was hurt. Yeah, what's funny was I wasn't hurt. I was kind of irritated the first time I had a bad experience with Guitars for Vets that way. Because again, I have to tell you, I was filtering it through I'm a YouTuber. What are you talking about? Because here's why I say that when I say I'm a YouTuber. Like, I understand why someone they don't know, who they don't have a reference of, but I'm like, I have a, billion whatever minutes consumed, 100 millions of views, right? Like in the guitar thing, you would think that somehow this would vet you a little bit. And when I'm talking to them, and they didn't want my guitars, but I talked to somebody there and they explained, like, sometimes they will take them, but sometimes when they take them, it's people who work at Guitar Vets will take them and like sell them and take the money and then donate that money, and there's just workarounds for that. But they explained that they have that deal, and I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So what I do when I do Guitar Vets, like I do Orangewood has almost every year reached out to me to do a video, and every year, almost like a tradition, I do a video for Orangewood, and then I make some donations of money to Guitars for Vets, and I just find that they like money works best for them, and that's fine. It's not that hard. I just like, okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay, hold on a second. I'm looking for I just want one last topic. I just want to end on one last topic. I don't think we're going to have one. Let's see. And Amanda sent me a bunch. Let me just go through them. Okay. Oops, wrong way. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's try this one. This is the last one. Fat Jeff 8808 says, just got a new Silver Sky SE. When it arrived, it has some pretty bad fret sprout. I'm in Hawaii, and I hope the humidity might reverse it to a degree. how long to wait before filing them? Okay, so perfect. This is a good question. So the fret sprout, as we know, so again, we all know this at this point, or most of us know this, that the neck shrinks and the frets were cut to the end of the fretboard. So the fretboard, the frets are cut to the end of the fretboard width, and when the fret shrinks because it dries out, which, by the way, when I do this motion, when I say shrinks, it's like shrinks, like it barely shrinks, very little. The frets are now sticking out, and now you feel fret sprout. So yes, in your case, the logic being if you hydrate the fretboard. Well, first of all, the best way to hydrate the fretboard is to oil the fretboard using some, lemon oil or fretboard conditioner or whatever you want to use that you trust. Just use the brand you trust. I use Music Nomad and Lizard Spit. I trust them, but Dunlop and all that stuff works fine. Anyways, so I would try that more than just waiting for the moisture to get into the guitar. The other thing that's important to understand is that even though you're in a humid climate, because I was in Hawaii, I sweat a lot. I was like, woo, moisture, what's this? Just because you have humidity doesn't mean the fretboard is going to suck it up. It's not that easy, right? It's just not that easy. So what I was going to say, so oils will probably do a little better. But here's the good thing. The good thing is that if you correct the fret sprout, there's no situation where if you correct the fret sprout and round those corners and those fret ends, that if the fretboard was to hydrate, the frets would then be receded in and too shallow. That's not a thing, because the distances that we're talking are so minute. The measurements that we're talking are so minute. To give you a perfect example, when you see me caliper in the videos the 12th fret, and I say this 12th fret is whatever I say, it's like 51.03 millimeters. When the fretboard's hydrated, it's going to be 53.09 millimeters. I mean, it's nothing. It's not noticeable. It's just enough for those barbs. And that's why I've said this. If the frets are rounded perfectly, they don't even matter if they sprout. So that's what's great about the sock test. It's not just a display of like, oh, the neck shrank and therefore these frets popped out and this is bad. Without a doubt, if the frets are rounded properly and smoothly and perfectly, the sock wouldn't catch them no matter how far they stick out. Right? The analogy I used at the Cortec factory was if I hot glued on a row of marbles, like if I took a broom handle, this is actually what I said to Cortec. If I took a broom handle and we took a hot glue gun and we, let's say, ½ inch down the broom, and I took the nylon sock and I ran it down, the sock would not scratch. But think how far the marbles are sticking out from the broom handle, then, right? That's because there's nothing for them to catch on. The sock catches on, which is why I started using the sock to demonstrate this. It catches on the barb, the sharp part of a fret. So the best thing about that when you have fret sprout is round and polish the frets anyways, even if you don't really kind of grind on them to pull them back, just round them over. Just round them around. It doesn't matter. And that's all you have to do. So my advice to you is don't wait. Just get a fret and dress file. It's my favorite file. They were on sale for Sumac, $10. I know shipping Hawaii is a nightmare, but you can use all kinds of things. I've got tons of videos on that. But just smooth the fret ends over, and I wouldn't worry about anything going the opposite way. And I want you to know I'm very cautious about how I speak because of the fact that I live in Arizona. I would say being in Arizona made me an expert of everything drying out, where I'm not an expert of things getting hydrated. So like when people talk about dehumidifiers, so like that's not a thing that exists here in Arizona. No, nobody in southern Arizona has a dehumidifier. They wouldn't, right? It's not a thing that we worry about. No one's trying to no one's worried about moisture here. But it doesn't matter. What I can tell you is what I've seen every situation a guitar can be put through, and just you cannot hydrate a fretboard to the point where it's a problem if you've already rounded the frets. Now, the good news though is you can hydrate a fretboard to the point where the frets don't stick out as much. But my guess is, here's my guess. I would really be curious, especially now, the Silver Sky you got, how old it is. Because if you watch the PRS SE factory tour I did, there's definitely a lot of footage I did not show. It wasn't because I was restricted. It was just, some of it was just, I didn't know if that would be interesting to people. But without a doubt, the PRS SE factory has a new tool that they made. I have footage of it, a whole video of them explaining it. And And it's to basically try to pass the sock test. That's what they're trying to do with it. That's basically true. Let's just stay in there. That's basically true. They have it's really cool. And so I've replicated that tool here. So how it works, and it's basically a really cool idea. So I'm really curious to see if any of the SEs are failing now, because now that they're doing that. So really curious. Yeah. But on that note, go ahead and do it. You'll be fine. Okay. On that, we did it. We did everything. We covered it all. For those of you on my Patreon, the $10 tier and above, tomorrow is the soldering clinic tomorrow. So if you want to join me for that, I appreciate that. That's great. The rest of you, if you guys want to check out the Blackstar video and you didn't see it, the new Blackstar RD50, there's a link. I'll put a link in this video so you can check it out. It's on the Know Your Gear channel. It's our second channel. By the way, thank you so much. The second channel hit 30,000 subscribers, which is amazing. And it's doing so good. And so you're going to see, now we were waiting for a certain thing to happen. Something happened. And now you're going to see content on that channel more than what you were seeing before, and more content on this channel. And it all makes sense. We're not even going to tell you what's happening or why, because we know after about a couple weeks, everybody's going to go, oh, yeah, that makes sense. So instead of explaining it to you, we'll just see what happens as it unrolls. All right, guys, have a great time. And till the next time, know your gear. If you're learning something or having a good time, don't forget you can subscribe for free and help this channel. Or for $10 a month, you can join me on Patreon for live clinics where you can ask questions every single week.